think we can go ahead and start. Looks like we've got a good number of people joined. So hi everyone, I'm Miranda. Feel free to just call me Miranda. You don't have to say Ms. Shirk or anything. I don't know. I was always really uncomfortable when my teachers told me to call them by their first names, but I promise I don't mind. But if it makes you uncomfortable, no problem.
It's in Miranda Cosgrove?
I guess so, except mine's spelled with a Y. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen. Just one second. All right, can everyone see my Google Slides right now, the presentation?
Yeah, I can see it just fine.
Okay, perfect. I'll go ahead and start this then. Well, I'm super excited. So glad to see everyone here. Hi, I was telling everyone at the beginning, my name is Miranda. Feel free to call me Miranda. You don't need to call me Ms. Shirk or anything unless you really want to, I guess. That's fine. But so this summer we'll all be learning Python together and I'm super excited. This is, I'm working for the Frisk Center for Autism and Innovation at Vanderbilt University. We do a lot of programs for autistic people or neurodivergent people. And so I'm really excited to be able to all learn Python together.
Okay, so, nice to know.
Yeah, so just a little bit about me. I am Miranda, like I said, I'm also autistic and I got diagnosed about 3 years ago when I was 22. It's been really great since finding out, and I've done a lot of stuff with the Frisk Center since then for advocating for autistic people. I'm also a data scientist at NOAA, which is the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. That's a lot of fun. I work for the government analyzing ocean and atmospheric data, so a lot of fun. I just graduated this year with a master's in data science from Vanderbilt, and before that I had a bachelor's degree in chemistry, so you could really come from anywhere and do programming. And I just put a little note on here, I never programmed before I got to college. So when I was 18 or 19, and now I program every day 6 years later. So I've got into it as an adult and I really love it. So I hope you guys enjoy it too. Let's see. So some of you seen this. We do have some Classmate intro slides. If you're comfortable, go ahead and fill those out. And then
I already filled mine out.
Good. So yeah, well, we have them and you guys can look over them. I find it easier to know how to talk to people, especially when we're all online, if I can see a little slide about them and recognize them from that. And make sure to access it with the email account that you used to register for the course. If there's another one that you need to access it with, just send me an edit request and I can get that on. These are also, they're only available to your email account, so also don't worry about like random strangers outside of this program looking at your information. It should be private. So, all right, so it's just some ground rules. During class, when we're in the Zoom room, be sure to stay muted if you're not speaking, and try to use the raise hand button before you ask a question, or unmute yourself and then I can call on you. So just make sure you're muted while we're in this meeting. That's just so that we don't have distracting sounds or anything. And it gets a little confusing when a bunch of people try to ask questions at the same time. So do please try to raise your hand. There should be a button under participants, I think, that says raise hand. Let me know if you can't find it. You can also type your questions in. You can type it in chat or Discord. It is easier for me to see the Discord when I'm sharing my screen, but if you put it in a chat, I will try to check it periodically. Whoops. So yeah, use every now and then throughout the class, we will be using little Zoom icons to, yeah, there we go. Someone found the chat. All right. Throughout the class, we'll be using Zoom icons every now and then just so I can gauge understanding. So sometimes it's like raise hand, or I think there used to be a raise hand button and now I'm actually not seeing it. Let's see, there were these little emojis.
It's under the reactions, that's where the raise hand is.
Okay, Perfect. Okay. It looks a little different to me now. I guess it updated. But yeah, so you can raise your hand. Every now and then I'll just ask questions, be like, okay, does this make sense? Or do you think it's this answer or this answer? And that's how we'll kind of do quick participation. And then your videos can be on or off, either whatever you're comfortable with. This will be uploaded to YouTube later on, and I don't think no one will be looking at your face really, but whatever you're comfortable with is totally fine. And then outside of class, you can email me questions. You can message me on Discord for questions. We also have a couple teaching assistants, which once we figure out who all of those are, these are just students that are also taking the class, but know a little bit of Python already, so they can kind of help you with some of the beginning stuff. Feel free to talk with them on Discord. And also, I'd really love for us to all get to know each other, be active in the Discord. If you're in there, it's completely optional. But let's be sure to be appropriate and safe for work. We do have some younger participants here, so let's just all be respectful for each other and just make sure we do that. But most of all, I want us all to have fun with the assignments. This is not going to be a graded course. I'm not going to give you a grade or anything. If you do have something you want me to look over or you're having trouble, I will definitely look over it for you and give you feedback. But don't feel like it's pressure or you need to get a certain grade or anything. This is just for fun and to learn a new skill that I hope you'll be able to use later. So are there any questions about the rules or what the expectations are for the class? Okay, yeah, some people need the Discord invite. I will send it. Okay, yeah, it looks like someone sent the link. Okay. If there's no questions, I'll just go ahead and go. All right. Will there be a certificate? There's not going to be an official certificate. We might be able to come up with one, but we weren't really planning on having one. Okay, so if someone can put the Discord invite in there, go ahead. Okay. Oh yeah, don't join with Google Meet. That's okay. Yeah, it's not on Google Meet. All right, so I'll go ahead and continue on this. So as an overview for this course, you should all have signed up for GitHub and Replit. If you haven't, that's okay. Just go ahead and get those accounts today and be sure to send me your usernames. I'm wanting your usernames because I'm trying to get us in like a group so that I can add you to an organization and I can see your code more easily. I'm still trying to get that to work, but hopefully it'll work. And then the Discord, like I said, is optional. I'll resend that invite if you didn't get it. Also note, this course was intended for adults or high school or older. We are welcoming everybody though. So if you are younger than high school, you are totally welcome to be here as long as your parents are fine with it. We will be going at a pace intended for high school and up. So if it gets to feeling a little fast, that's okay. If you need to drop out, that's okay. We're just here to learn and have fun with this new skill. So I've also listed another great resource here called Free Code Camp. That's, I've learned a couple things on there, but they have a Python course that I believe I've linked here if you're interested in doing that as well. So let's see. Okay, if there's not a certificate, how should we format this on our resume? You can there's a bunch of different options. You can just say that you've taken a course for Python. You don't really have to attach a certificate to your resume, but if you have more questions about that, you can email me and we might be able to get a certificate. I'll just have to see. Okay, Discord link doesn't work. I will send that out in an email then, because it might be that you have to be an admin to invite people. So we'll try that. Okay, so, oh yes, Michael, I see your hand is raised.
Are we allowed to use virtual backgrounds?
Oh yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Cool. And yes, Tanav?
Okay, do I have to sign up for this boot camp?
What do you mean? Did you fill out the registration form?
No,
How'd you get here?
I don't know. I thought you don't have to sign up for it.
We had an application for it, and so that's how have you been getting my emails?
Yes, I have that, but I didn't see the application
But the only way I would have your email is if you filled out the application. So maybe you just forgot.
I just forgot.
Okay. Well, we're glad to have you. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Yep. All right. Sorry, I was just checking the chat for questions. Oh yeah, everything is free. All of this course is free. Anything I ask you to sign up for will be free. Do not pay for anything. Don't sign up for anything you need to pay for. It should all be free. All right, so now let's get on to how this course is hopefully different from other boot camps. So first of all, we wanted to make a course that was made by neurodivergent people or ND people for ND people. So most everyone in this class is neurodivergent. We have a mix of autism, ADHD, and then a couple people who just have family members that are neurodivergent, but are very neurodivergent accepting. So I personally find this really fun. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. I feel like we'll all understand each other a bit more, and I just love the diversity that we have in this classroom here. We're also gonna focus a bit on ND learning styles. So everyone learns a little differently, and we're going to pay attention to anything that you might need accommodation-wise. So I did send out a thing where we will be working in groups sometimes, but if you prefer, if you learn better individually, let me know and you can just have your own little group to work in just by yourself. Also, we're hoping to have a welcoming environment for everyone. So like I said, we're all neurodivergent here. So if you need to rock back and forth, or if you need to like shake a little bit or stand up and walk around, that's totally fine. Just do be sure that you keep yourself muted so that if something does happen or you're walking around, you don't hear like a bunch of static or something. And if you want more information about the Frisk Center and like what we do here, you can look at that website. It's pretty neat. We've got a lot of resources on there. So let us get started. So also, what can you do after this course? You will be able to create original coding projects and maybe publish them on GitHub. I don't know, we'll get into GitHub. I really love it. Also applying for computer science schools, jobs, programs. So this is a boot camp where we're learning. Maybe you do this and you decide, oh, I want to go to college, or I want to go to a technical school, or some other kind of boot camp where you can get a degree in programming. That's awesome. Or you can just jump straight into it, learn by yourself. A lot of people do actually just go to boot camps like this one, but also ones that are more intensive where they happen every day for like 10 weeks or something. And then they actually get jobs going out of that as programmers. I know several people that are doing that. Obviously, you'll be able to know more Python and even expand upon it. So we're going to cover a big chunk of Python in this course, all of the basics, everything you'll need to know. But you can always get more advanced with that and see what else you can learn, and even look into more programming languages. So we're really intending this to be a course where you learn Python. This is your first programming language. That's awesome. I hope you really like it. It was my first programming language. Another graduate student taught it to me when I was a freshman. And then I started learning others. So I've really enjoyed it. I hope you like it. And if you don't, that's totally fine. Really glad you tried it. So we're just going to jump right in, unless anyone has questions about the format of the course or where you can get materials and stuff. Let's see. Could this be any entryway to cyber defense and security?
Distracted with the PowerPoint because I was busy putting Discord on my computer.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, sorry. So I see a question here. Could this be any sort of entry?
That's a children cheering sound effect from your phone.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Could this be an entryway to cyber defense and security? Yeah, definitely. I don't personally work in cybersecurity, but I do know some people that use programming. Python's always a good language to know. So yeah, for sure. Let's see. Okay, if there's any questions, I don't see any. So we'll just jump right into it. So like I said, we're going to start at the basics. I don't know what, we have a huge range of programming skills in this class. Some people are just starting brand new. Super happy to have you here. We're also super happy to have you here if you have been coding for a while and you already know some of this stuff. I hope it's a good review for you, maybe some foundations. I structured this class to be all of the things I wish I had learned before I learned Python and then while I was learning Python. So we're actually gonna not start directly with Python today. We're going to start with some of the basics, command line, commands and stuff. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by this Discord. I'll have to turn the notifications off next time. So I wanted to start off with an explanation of exactly how computers work. So first, we have a graphical user interface, which if you're not familiar with, is called a GUI. Some people say GUI. Just don't say GUI interface because then you're saying graphical user interface, and that gets on my nerves. Not really, but I don't like it. So anyway, a GUI, it's when you're using your mouse or keyboard to interact with graphics on a computer screen. So mostly what you do in your day-to-day life on a computer where you have a menu and you can click on things, that's using a GUI. A command line interface, on the other hand, also known as a CLI, is where you type commands directly to your computer. So this is where you may see like a black screen with some text, and I'll show you some pictures of that. But so this is an example of a GUI. Yeah, exactly. An example is clicking or closing a window. So here's a classic Windows menu. You can click around on it. Anything you can click with your mouse is typically a GUI. If you have a Mac, it looks a bit different, obviously, but you get the picture. This, however, is a CLI, command line interface. This is more specifically a Linux terminal. So this is the user here, and they type a command, and then the computer does this command. Here's another command that they typed, and you don't have to understand this just yet, but I want you to know the difference because a lot of programmers use CLIs. I use the terminal every day. It's really good for programming, being able to make files and open files. And you can access this on any computer. However, for this class, we're going to use something called Replit. I asked you guys to make accounts on this. This is just a way for you to use to be able to learn coding without having to set anything up on your local computer. So there is kind of a difference between coding on your computer where it's saved to your machine, or using something like Replit where it's more saved to the cloud. It doesn't access your actual machine. And this way we can all pretend to be on the same kind of computer. So it makes it a little easier that we're all looking at the exact same thing and being able to code. Yeah, a CLI would be more similar to a command prompt or Python's idle. Exactly. So good. I'm glad that how are GUI and CLI different? Okay, how is Replit different from Linux? So Replit is using Linux. Replit is basically a website that allows you to connect to a Linux computer that someone else owns. So there's just a bunch of Linux computers out there that Replit owns. And when you log into their website, it lets you log into one of their computers and use it. And so you can't access the Linux terminal. We'll also be programming on it. So yep, just as a little review, this is a GUI. It's point and click. You can see graphics, graphical user interface. This is command line interface where you're typing, cannot use your mouse. So, all right, and then just to kind of breeze through that, again, raise your hand if you need me to stop, if you need to ask a question or anything. I've been trying to catch some of the ones that are coming in through the chat. Oh, and for Discord, I didn't mention this, but put questions for the put it in class questions channel. I don't know if I said that or not, but Zoom chat, also good. I have it up. Okay, so let's also talk about files and directories. So when we are on our computer and we want to access a file, you have to be in the correct folder for that. Hopefully you have run into this. If you're making a Word document or something, you save it to a specific folder with a specific name. And this is how your computer organizes files so that it can find them later and also know where to execute your commands. So if you're typing on the terminal in the command line, which we'll get more into later, so it'll be a little more concrete, we'll go through some examples, but the computer needs to know where you are and it needs to know where you want that command to execute. So these paths, these files can be located using a path. So here's an example of that right here. We have my computer /documents /myfile.txt. I've also got this GUI up here that is showing me the typical way to find a file in Windows or something, you can click into different folders. So we've got this PC, documents, and Aspie Bootcamp. And then I have my folder right here. So that's just a really quick overview of directories and paths. I kind of breezed through that because we have some people that have already done stuff like this, and I'm not really sure what our familiarity with it is. But if you do need more help, definitely let me know after class, and I can send you some more resources for it. We'll also post this video up online, and you have my slides. So I see a chat. Yep, files are usually in folders. Directories are folders. Exactly. So directory just means folder. Directory equals folder. That's the exact same thing.
I didn't hear
Yes.
the answer. How is Replit different from NetBeans?
How is Replit different from what? Oh, you muted yourself.
NetBeans.
I don't know what that is.
It's the app that I use for Java programming.
Oh, okay. It's they're just different apps or different websites. So I just haven't used that one. Yeah, exactly. Different. There's a bunch of different kinds of things we can use. I just chose Replit because it was easy to set up and easy for a bunch of people to use all at once. So, all right. And so here we have this command line interface below. And this is how a command line interface would show. This is specifically for Windows, but it has it written out here instead of a picture like this, it's more words. So it's users/Miranda/documents/Aspie Bootcamp. And that is how you would put a path there. So yeah, that's a good point. It's kind of like the Replit or other programs. It's kind of like Microsoft Word, Google Docs. There's a bunch of different kinds of apps that do the same thing. That's a good, thanks for that example. Okay. So just gonna also briefly talk about different kinds of paths. We have absolute path. This is starting from the very first directory, also called your root directory. It's just the very start of where your computer paths begin. So this would be starting at C drive/users/Miranda/documents/Aspie Bootcamp. You can also have a relative path. This starts from where you are, so relative to where you are. This can also be represented by this dot. So if we're in C/users/Miranda/documents, and we wanted to go to Aspie Bootcamp, we could type /Aspie Bootcamp. Yeah, absolute paths start from the very beginning, and then relative paths start from wherever you are there. So that's our brief discussion of paths. If there's any questions about paths, go ahead and type them in or raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll keep going, and if we can review the paths and stuff later. All right, let's keep going. So commands run relative to your current location. Okay, so now we're going to get into some command line commands, command line interface commands. These are just some basic ones. I have this PowerPoint here with some basic ones that I want you to know. You definitely don't have to memorize them because we have them on this PowerPoint. There's some cheat sheets I'll link to, but these are good to just practice. They're really useful for programming. So the first one we have PWD. This stands for Print Working Directory. All of these you'll notice are just kind of shortened. That's just because people didn't feel like typing the whole thing out. So this prints where you're located in the file system. So it'll print like where your path is. So if we were in documents, it would say users/Miranda/documents. And then next one is CD change directory. This will let you change to another folder. MKDIR stands for make directory, lets you make a new folder. And LS or list lists all the files and directories where you are located. And so I know I just kind of ran through that, but I'm going to show you some examples right now. So let's see. All right, I'm trying to escape this. Okay, so can you see the shell right here? Should have changed to a little terminal thing.
Is there a way to zoom in, make it more like?
Oh, good idea. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, is that better?
Much. That's perfect.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Sorry, I can't always see people nodding. Okay. Okay, someone's creating a rebel now.
Like a happy dance. I was going like, Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, good to know. You can do verbal happy dances, I guess.
Uh-oh, this is
Um,
not the programming I'm used to.
Oh, that's okay. We're all gonna learn. So
That's good.
we're just gonna spend this first day really doing command line. And then we're gonna get onto Python. So it's just these are good foundations to have so that other stuff in Python makes sense later. So we're gonna try out some of these commands here. So first, the first one is print working directory. So pwd, and this will tell me where I am in my terminal. So here I am, that's the path. This is home/runner/Aspie Bootcamp -Python. Yeah, and if you're on a Mac, you can access your terminal. I just saw that in the chat. And if you want to follow along, you're welcome to. You just create a new project in Replit and then just go to the shell tab here. I'll show you how to do that in detail. For now, I'm just showing you the examples, and then we'll all work through some together later. What's another command that we learned? How about list? So ls and enter. So what I'm doing is I'm typing this and then hitting enter. And then so the computer here put out, we have this file main.py. We have a readme file. It's called readme.md, which md just means markdown. And then we have this. Now notice there is no dot after this, which means it's a directory or a folder. So that means we can actually go into that folder. So we can use the cd command, change directory. And then when you cd, you just type cd space the directory when you go into, and you hit enter. And now that's where we are. So you can see this right here is showing that we just went into the test directory. So it's showing, so this is an example of a relative path. So we're in Aspie Bootcamp Python/test. And then I can list here to see if there's anything in this directory. There's not. But we could make something. Well, let's make a directory using our make directory command. Make a directory called my directory. And now if I type lists, it shows up. So do I need to repeat any of these for anyone? Totally fine if I do. Oh yeah, Cameron, I see your hand.
So so this is like accessing on your computer, essentially going through the file, because like the directories, those are the folders on your computer. Okay.
So it's not the folders on my computer specifically just for this one. It's the folders on the Replit's computer.
Oh, okay. I was
Mhm.
trying to figure out where it was getting the folders from, because I remember you had the same folders on you. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
made one before class started called Aspie Bootcamp Python. I probably should have said that. Yeah, so these are the ones on the Replit computer. And that's an important thing to remember is that you can't access your computer files, your personal ones, on this. It'll make you very sad if you try to do it because it won't work. But that's a great question. Thank you for pointing that out. Any other questions? Yeah, Preston.
What does the $ mean?
The $. Oh, that is just a marker to show like where your command begins. So it doesn't really have any special meaning. I don't know if there's a significance why they use $, but this whole thing is just showing you the path where you are. The $, indicates that that's the end of the path, and then you can start typing your commands there. Good question. Good question. All right.
Actually,
yeah.
one final thing. What's
Yes.
the importance of a markdown?
A markdown is just a different type of file. Okay, Donovan, you're requesting remote access. I don't know if you're trying to do that or not. Sorry, what's a markdown file? It's just a special type of text file where you can format it a specific way. So instead of like in Microsoft Word where you can change fonts and stuff, or you can make headers, you use different typing commands to do that. So if you're familiar with like HTML, or like how websites are made, it's kind of in a similar way where it's like a text file, but you add like font information and stuff. So just a text file, short answer, text file. All right. Yes, Julian.
How are we supposed to connect our Replit account to like something for the bootcamp? And if so, how?
I will let you know if we're going to do that or not. For now, just have your Replit account. I did make an education group but I need to make sure that we can keep it because I think it's on a free trial. So I would hate for it to end like halfway through the boot camp and then all of you lose your work. So I'm going to double check that, but you should be good just using Greplit on your own for now. Good question. All right, any other questions? Oh, yes. Rye guy?
In the corner of that screen over there, well, are the CPU and RAM supposed to be the same thing as storage, or are they different?
Yeah, that's a good question. So this is the processing that you're using. We're not really going to have to worry about this at all. It's kind of outside the scope of what we'll be doing. But yeah, CPU is like a processing power. So like how many operations your computer has to do. RAM is to do with if you're saving something in memory for calculations, like if you're doing math, it'll store the answer there. Storage is like if you actually upload files to it, but you won't have to worry about any of that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. All right, any other questions? Do I need to do those examples again, or should we go back to the slides? Okay, I'm gonna assume we're good to go back to the slides. So we have some other commands. I'll have to get right out of this anyway. Okay, so I put a note here. All the commands are case sensitive. Anything that you will do in programming, command line, Python, they'll all be case sensitive. So be very sure that you usually use lowercase or something called camel case. Anyway, just make sure you know that it's case sensitive. Okay, so here's one of the examples. This is pretty much what I just did. So we have print working directory, and it shows you're in home runner here. Next, we had lists, and this shows we have some folder. We have a folder here, a directory, and then we have a file here. Then we change directory to Aspie Bootcamp Python, and it shows that we did successfully change this directory. Then you list, and it shows main.py, readme, and a test directory. Yes, Donovan. Why did I show the commands in a Python class? Because it's very important to know them. This is stuff that I wish I knew before I had started Python, because you have to use these to navigate some common environments. Not those commands, DOS commands. I don't know what you mean. Okay, Donovan, I'm not exactly sure what you're wanting to ask, so DM me and we can talk later. Yes, how do you go up a directory? That's a really good question. So I think I have that in the, no, I didn't, I meant to put a note there. So if with relative paths, if dot represents where you are immediately, dot dot is going back. So where am I right now? I'm here. If I do cd dot dot, that just means go back to the previous directory. So good question. I meant to go over that. Does that make sense? And I don't really know why it's called that, why it's just dot dot, but it's very useful if you don't feel like typing out a path or anything, or going back one. And now I can say list, and here are some other directories. So I'm going to clear this so that we can see more commands as we go. Yeah, cd dot dot is a really useful one. Okay, yeah, is there a question?
Can't you just send me the file that we go on over so far so I can have access to that?
Send what file?
The file that you were going over. I need to review
Yeah, so we'll have so I have this. Do you see this here?
Yeah.
So this has all the commands on it, and then we'll also have the recording. And then I'll also give you a cheat sheet to do it. So don't worry. And then we're also going to all practice it together today. So don't worry if you're like, Miranda, stop. I don't know what you're doing. I'll help you all set it up. Yeah, sorry about the echoing. All right. Okay, so we have some other commands here. So CP is copy, This is where you copy. Is there a space between the two dots? Oh, there's a, so it's CD space dot dot. So CD space dot dot, and then enter. So there's no space between the two dots. Good question. Okay, so some other important commands. We have copy, CP. This copies a file. We have MV for move, which moves a file. RM for remove, which is just deleting a file, removing a file. And then if you want to remove a folder, it's a bit more complicated because if you have a folder, you may have files or other folders inside that folder, and the computer will be like, well, do you know you have other stuff in here? So you have to say RM space -R. This stands for remove, and then this -R stands for recursively. That just means it's going to go inside the folder. Is there anything in the folder? If there is, I delete that and then delete the folder. That's just what the computer does by itself. And then cat is called catenate. This just means print the contents of a file. So if there's a file and you just want to see what's inside of it, you can say cat and then file name, and it'll show you that. So we're going to go back to the terminal here. I think I saw a question. Okay, does someone have their hand raised? It said someone did. Maybe you put your hand down, that's okay. To delete a file, no, so delete is not, so to delete a file is RM. So here, I'm back here. I'm gonna go to, let's see, CD runner. We're just getting back to this Aspie Bootcamp. And then clear that. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so let's just, okay, so who, oh, Aspie stands for Asperger's. So it's kind of just a general term for people with autism. The head of the Frist Center, Dr. Dave Caudell, really likes the term Aspie because he uses it to talk about just neurodivergent people in general. So it's just kind of been like a nickname that we have for neurodivergent people. Yes, removing a file is deleting it, and this is permanent. You cannot undo it. In Windows or Mac or something, you have the recycling bin where you delete a file, but then it's like, oh, I didn't mean to, and I can look in my trash bin and get it back. You cannot do this on the terminal. Once you remove it there, it's gone forever. So remove things with caution. Okay, so if I want to list some files here, if I want to see what's in here, does someone want to type in what command I want to type in to see what files are here? If I want to list those files, yeah, good, ls. Yeah, pwd is another good one if you want to see where you are, what your path is, but list is the one where we want to see what the files are that are here. Okay, and then let's see, which ones do we want to try out? So we have copy. So I have this readme file, or let's do this as Python file since we're learning Python, right? So if I want to copy, I'm going to say cp space main.py space new main.py. You can give it whatever name you want. Make sure you do keep this extension right here. It's called the extension when it has the .py. That tells the computer it's a Python file. That's very important. Yes, Michael.
What about backup files?
Oh, like swap files?
Yeah.
Or so if you mean backup file, as in you copy a file to keep another version of it for yourself?
No, like if you delete a file, can you still get it back with a backup file?
That depends on your computer. There are sometimes, they're called swap files or backup files, like you were saying. We're not really going to get into those. Let's just not delete things that you don't want to delete. Just be very careful when you remove things for now. That's a little outside the scope. Those are there, but it's not good to rely on them. And yes, the extension does matter in the type of file. So we want to make sure that when we rename main.py, we keep this .py. We can just put in our new file name. And then, so I'm going to press enter. And it's not going to give me any indication that that worked. It's a lot of with Linux, you type in your commands and you're like, it didn't say anything. That's okay. So we're just going to hit list here. And there it is. That's our new file, new main.py. So yay, that worked. Now let's say we want to remove it. We're going to remove new main.py. And then gonna press enter. Again, didn't really say anything like it did it, but I'm gonna hit list and it's gone. Gone forever. So that's removing files. I have this test directory here. You can tell it's a directory because there's no dot extension. Yes, Anthony, do you have a question?
So once you delete a file on a certain terminal, does it mean it's permanent or can you restore it?
That was like Sonic in that picture.
It's permanent. So you cannot restore it. There might be a backup file, but for this class, we're not going to make any. So it gets a little complicated, but yeah, it won't come back. It's permanently gone. I think a lot of people are also appreciating your Sonic profile pic there.
Oh, thank you. I'm a very good Sonic fan.
Oh, good. All right, so now we're going to look at removing a directory. So like I said, we've got this test directory. And does anyone want to tell me? I kind of just said it, but let's see if we remember why. How do I know that this is a directory and not a file?
No extension at the end of the name, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. There's no extension. It's just the name. There's no dot. So we know that that's a folder.
Yes.
So we can, yeah, perfect. So we can cd or change directory into that. I'm going to hit cd space test and then enter. And now we're in it. I'm going to list. And then there's another directory in there called my directory. So now I'm going to do cd dot to go back. Sorry, this is doing weird stuff. Okay, list. So now we've got this test directory. And if we want to remove it, we're going to do rm. And then what do I want to put next?
Negative R.
Remove. Yeah, exactly. Negative R, dash R, minus R, however you want to say it. rm dash R test. And it removed it. So let's see. Yep, it's gone. So now just to show you.
What's the difference between removing versus removing recursively?
So removing, you can just use on files. Removing recursively, you use on directories. And the reason it's called recursive is because it goes into the folder, sees if there's anything else in the folder. If there is, it goes into that, sees if there's anything else. And then once it gets to like a terminal spot where it's just a file, it deletes that file, then goes back up and deletes the empty directory. So it basically deletes everything inside the directory first and then deletes the directory.
Whereas removing just removes it without all the extra.
Right. And so here, I'll show you. So I'm going to make that same directory again. I'll call it test2 so we know that it's different. So you can see this directory test2 here. It is a directory. There's nothing in it, but the computer doesn't automatically know that. So if I just say remove test2, it says cannot remove test2. It is a directory. So there is a bit of a safeguard there, so you won't just accidentally remove a directory if you think it's a folder. But then if I go back and I say remove -r test2, now it doesn't have a problem and test2 is gone. So that's a bit about removing. Like I said, remove wisely. Don't remove anything that you maybe would want in the future. So let's go back. Oh yeah, and then, yes?
So sorry, I have one final question. The 2 dots, what's that supposed to, what's that command again?
Oh yeah, so ... just means a directory back. So if I do, so print working directory, so we're in home, runner, Aspie Bootcamp. If I do cd change directory ... it's going to put me in the previous directory. So it goes up one, yeah. Okay. All right. So another one was move. So let's say I wanted to move. Okay, let's make another directory. Let's call it test again. And let's say I wanted to move main.py to the test directory, I'm going to type mv space main.py, move this, and then to the new directory. So mv space file name space directory name. Press enter, and now this moves it. It doesn't copy it, so it just completely puts it in a different location. So if I do list, now we see that main.py is gone, but if we cd into test, main.py is in this test directory now. So I'm going to try that again, but this time I'll use the ... so that you can see how it goes back a directory. So let's say I want to move main.py ... so back one directory, so Aspie Bootcamp. And you don't have to put the slash there, I just put that there. And so now let's see, test is empty. So let's do cd ... move back one directory. And we're back in Aspie Bootcamp Python list. Oh, there it is. It's back there. So these are some ways to move around some files. I'm going to clear that again. And now I think our last one that we have is cat. Cat, like I said, stands for catenate. That just means print all the contents of a file. I love cats, so I just like to imagine a cat in my head reading the file to me. So the format for this is cat space file name. I press enter, and this is what's in the file. Everything here, it's just printing out exactly what's in the file. So this is a good way to just very quickly see what is inside a file. And if I wanted to do the same thing with the cat readme, it'll do that thing. There's only one thing in the readme, and it just says that. All right, so that is a basic review of some of our command lines. I'm going to go back to here. Some of our command line commands. And here is just a screenshot. I just did this earlier and then captured it. If you want to read through it, how you can read it is starting on this line where I type ls, hit enter. This is the computer's response. So if you want to go back through that. Okay. So like I said before, using the command line is really important to be able to run programs. You actually use the command line to run Python programs. You can use it to edit different files. For instance, I write all my files using the command line in something called Vim, which we'll also go over. And then you can also, it's really easy to connect it to GitHub, which we'll get onto that later. We're not going to talk about GitHub today, but it is very nice. And then I do have this command cheat sheet. This has a lot of commands on it. We only covered like the first 8 or so. So those are the only ones you really need to worry about. But if you're ever curious and you're like, oh, I want to get crazy with some commands, go for it. We've got those there. All right. So now let's practice this all together. We've got, looks like about 10 minutes left for the class, which is perfect timing. We would have just gotten through all the commands. So if you go ahead, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. Oops. Okay, so first, move this over. Oops. Bear with me as I'm trying to move Zoom around. Okay. So we should be back on my terminal, and then we're going to practice this all together. So how you do this, I'm going to go to home so you can see it. So here I'm on my home screen in REPL, and I'm going to let all of you get there. So give me a thumbs up once you're on Replit. If you have an account, if you don't have an account yet, you can just follow along and then do it yourself along with the recording later. Let's see. All right, let me know when you are on Replit. And I do have a link to it in the slides as well.
I think I already, I think I already sent you my Replit account or whatever. I'm not sure though.
I just made mine recently, so I'm good.
Okay, yeah.
System 32.
What'd you say?
He's about to delete System 32. He said he's about to delete System 32.
It's a joke. Okay. Don't worry, I'm not that silly.
Okay, so for all on the Replit, what you do is you're going to hit this create button. Gonna create. You're just, the first one that pops up should be Python. It usually is. You're going to hit Python. type whatever, it comes up with a random title here. I'm gonna put Aspie week 1. You can name it whatever you want. Name it the same thing as me if you want to keep it consistent, or name it something else. And then you're gonna hit create. Yeah, it's a great random name generator. I really like it. It's funny sometimes. So it's going to pop up like this, where you've got a Python file on the left, some file stuff right here, and then console and shell. We're just gonna move this, so you can just move the slider. We don't need to worry about the Python right now. And then click on shell. So once everyone is on shell, give me some sort of thumbs up or some sort of emoji thing, or a thumbs up on your video. Do something so that I know you're there, because I don't want to lose anyone. And if you need me to redo that, just let me know. All right, looks like a bunch of people are on there. All right, I've got a lot of thumbs up. Okay, cool. Okay, now we're gonna practice these. So task 1 is go to the terminal in Replit. Task 2, find out where we are. So what should I type? And if you're on the PowerPoint, the answers are kind of there, but that's so people feel confident about their answers. All right, so what should I type if I want to find out where I am in the computer, where I am in the file system? Yeah, PWD, print working directory. Great job. So PWD, and so we should be, I'm in home/runner/ whatever I named my project, which is Aspie-week 1. If you named yours something else or used the random name generator so that it's like Magical Hedgehog 2 or something, then that would be that one right here. Okay, woo, step 2. Okay, now on to step 3. List the contents of that directory. What do I need to type here? I'm just going to give people time to answer. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of lists. Yeah, make sure it's not IS, it's LS, as in list. So make sure you don't, it's not capital I, it's LS. Yeah, so list. And we've got a couple of things there. There's some weird looking files here. I wouldn't mess around with those. That's just how Replit compiles the Python and everything. Don't mess with those. I don't even really know what those are, but yeah, practice them. V&V, so that is a directory. It stands for virtual environment. It's basically just a folder so that Replit knows how to run all your commands, and it has all of the packages and software that you need. So I wouldn't mess around with that because it helps your computer run, your virtual computer. But it means virtual environment, but you don't have to worry about that. Okay, make a directory called test directory. What should I type? Yeah, but yeah, so we want to do make directory, and then what do I do after that? Yeah, I'm seeing some good. Yeah, so make directory test. Yep. Yeah, make directory test. Or if I wanted it to be test directory. Oop, directory. Yep, I'm gonna do that. Press enter. Yeah, you guys are good. You guys are doing great. Okay, and then go into test directory. So we're gonna say, what do we do next? We want to go into that directory. CD, yep. And one nice thing about Linux is when you're typing, so I'm going to list out so you can see what all is here. If I say CD and then I start typing test, I can hit the tab button, so the tab key on your keyboard, and it will automatically autofill that. If you have things with similar names, it'll just do it up to where they are different, but that's really nice for typing fast. So yeah, we're going to CD into the test directory. Now we're going to list the contents of test directory. I've been doing this one a lot, ls. And now, what do we do if we want to go back into the previous directory? Yeah, cd ... Yeah, awesome. You guys are catching on super fast. So cd ... and here we are back in our original folder. So that's great. I just wanted to do that to make sure no one was lost. We're all on the same page. That is most of the stuff. We will be using terminal stuff throughout while we're coding. Let me get my slides back up.
How do you go back? If you make a mistake, how do you go back?
What happened? What kind of mistake?
I didn't leave space between CD and ...
Oh, that's okay. So you just did CD ... Oh, okay. So you're gonna hit the control button and then C. So control C will stop any program that's running. That's a really good question. So if you accidentally do something like this and it doesn't do anything, you can press enter all you want, press up and down. Yeah, so sometimes it'll come back command not found. But if it just kind of stops running, you can always press the control button and then C, and it'll look like that. That's a good thing to know if you are also running a program and your program never stops. Control C is a good way to make sure that it stops. So yeah, good question. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the slides here. So you should be able to see that. We are pretty much gonna wrap it up here. The next thing that I wanted to cover is called Vim. This is a type of text editor, basically just like Notepad or something. You're just making text files or Python files. And it uses keyboard commands. So it's on the command line interface. It uses keyboard commands. So you cannot use your mouse, cannot click, you just type directly into it. It's really easy to create new documents. The command is vim, and then whatever file you want to create, don't forget your extension. So vim myfile.txt would create a text file, and then vim myprogram.py would create this Python file here. So we're not going to be using vim a lot in the class, but it is really important to know. That's how I make most of my Python files. I use vim. My husband loves vim. He will talk about vim all the time. But it is really nice. So we're not going to get right into that today, but I did want to let you know what we're going to cover at the very beginning of next class, or if you want to just jump ahead and learn about them. These two slides tell you everything that you need to know about them for now. So looks like we are about a minute out. We got through a lot. How's everyone feeling? Gonna stop this sharing.